Welcome to Coffee with Patti. I am so happy to be here again today, and I'm here with Jesse Tugus. And he has become a new friend, and I'm very excited for our conversation and for you to get to know him. So welcome, Jesse.
Hi, Patti. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for all you've done for me. You've been helping me with the podcast, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So just wanted to get to know a little bit about you, where you came from, where you grew up, about your parents and your family.
Mm-hmm. So both my parents are immigrants, Filipino immigrants. My mom got into the program. It's like an overseas worker program where they basically have agencies out in the Philippines, and then they ship them off to other countries in the world to make money and then bring it back to the Philippines. My mom first went to Hong Kong, then Canada, and then she met my dad in California.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they moved to Hawaii because my dad was living there, or was from there, basically. He was born in the Philippines and then just raised in Hawaii. But yeah, and then they had me and then my sister. My mom they both worked in fast food when we were little. And then my dad started working as in construction, and then my mom was a nurse, and then she started a business in Las Vegas where she takes care of old folks, basically a senior living facility business. And we moved to Vegas, and then that's where I grew up, basically.
And how old were you when you moved to Vegas?
I was 7.
7, so that's second grade?
Yeah, second grade, basically.
And tell us about your experience moving to Vegas.
It was fun. It was a place back then in 1997. It was a smaller place than it is now. I barely had like 250,000 people from what I remember. But I remember moving there in October, and being from Hawaii, I wasn't used to like the cold, the winter, especially the dryness.
Right.
So like my body reacted very differently. I broke out in rashes and had to put ointments on my body. Had to get like naked. They had to
go to check you.
Yeah, exactly. Medical ointment all over me.
And in Hawaii, it's always humid, and it was so hot, and well, it's very, very cold in Vegas, and very dry during the winter. I remember being there and being so cold. So it must have been a huge shock for you.
Yeah, a huge shock. And then in Hawaii, when it gets cold, it's like 80 degrees out there. Yeah,
80 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People are putting on sweatshirts when it's 80 degrees, but
very different climate.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was it was a shock at first, but then I got used to it, and now I actually prefer the dry weather as opposed to the humidity. Okay. I can't stand humidity anymore.
I understand that. I feel the same way. Yeah. Because in Michigan it was very humid. Here it's nice and dry, and it's so much nicer. So much more comfortable.
I didn't know Michigan was humid like that.
Very humid.
Really?
Like if it's 70 in Michigan and humid, you're miserable. And you come out here at 70, you put on a coat.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's very humid there. Super hot right now.
Interesting. I've never been out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You should definitely check it out. It's a very beautiful state.
I've heard great things about it. Yeah.
So tell me about when you came out and you were living, where were you living? And did you help your mom, or how did that process work when she took that huge leap to move to Las Vegas?
Yeah, basically she opened up the business. It's basically a residential business. It's not like a commercial size facility. So they're literally single family homes that we just kind of turn into senior living facilities. But the first facility that she had acquired, there was like a little storage house in the back. Probably about, I want to say, I mean, as a kid, it's a lot bigger, but I want to say maybe 300 square feet, if that. And it's just it's just like one rectangle, and there was just like one closet in there.
Wow.
And that's where we basically lived for like 8 months. There's no bathroom. So
no bathroom.
Yeah. So if we needed to use a bathroom, we'd either go inside to the facility to use the bathroom, or if it was like, I remember our first year there, while we were living there, there was a huge storm that came through. So everything got flooded in the backyard. So we started to use buckets to use the bathroom in during the night. Yeah.
So explain to me what it looked like in the back compared to like the palm trees in Hawaii, and then you're in Vegas in a storage area, and you're all living together. Like all 4 of you are living in that small space together.
Exactly. So all 4 of us was living there. I wouldn't say it's like a storage. We use it as a storage now, but it's like someone just had built like a secondary home back there, but it was mainly used for storage.
For storage
at the time. So. But the backyard, I mean, it's a desert climate. So there's basically, we had like one huge tree, and then even standing under the shade, there's no like, breeze or anything like that.
God.
So it was really, really hot. Little grass area, mostly concrete, but yeah, my parents made the best out of it that they could. I remember my dad made like a swing off the tree. So we would do that. And then being from Hawaii for fun, we all just climbed trees. Like my cousins climbed coconut trees and stuff like that. So we would just be playing all over the trees. But spiders, that was a new thing for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were spiders in Vegas.
Yeah, black widow spiders.
Ooh. Okay.
And I didn't know that at first. So we'd be climbing trees. I don't know how many spiders I ran into, but
Black Widow. That'd be scary.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said, as a kid, you don't really understand the situation. You know what I mean? So we were basically just like, okay, yeah, like this is what it is right now. I don't remember ever like complaining about it.
Right. They made it comfortable for you.
Yeah, as comfortable as they could. And then, but luckily it was short lived, only 8 months.
8 months.
Just throughout my second grade year. And then my mom purchased a home out in the suburbs, so we were able to live in a 2-story home after that. So that was nice. Yeah, with a bathroom.
With a bathroom.
3 bathrooms.
3 bathrooms. Okay, that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
And that was how far away from the assisted living
It's like a
facilities?
10-minute drive.
About 10 minutes?
Yeah, there's really no traffic in Vegas. Or when I was living there, it could be different now, but it's 10 miles away, so 10, 15 minutes at most.
So what connected you with the assisted living people? Because I'm sure that you got to know them, and you lived in that world for how long?
Basically my whole life.
Your whole life?
Yeah, my whole life. My parents still do it. I'm getting, like we talked about earlier, I'm getting into the business. But yeah, in terms of connection, I don't know. I think it was just one of those things again where, the Hawaiian spirit, where the aloha spirit is, as they say. So like I would just sit down and talk to them, ask them about their life. I was 7. My sister was like 5 at the time, 4 or 5. So we were just kids, just kind of just in the environment. We never, again, I don't ever remember like judging it or being like, oh, I wish life was different. You know what I mean? It was just kind of the things where it's just like, oh yeah, this is what life is now. And I actually enjoyed it because I remember in high school, I had really hard time talking to people my age and like making friends. But when I would meet their parents, I would know how to speak to their parents.
Right.
And I think it's because of that, because talking to the older people where I didn't have like, I wasn't embarrassed to do it. I was basically like just like more open and more comfortable talking to my friends' parents, everyone's parents basically, and teachers too. I was very comfortable as opposed to just girls in my class. I could never talk to.
You could talk to their moms.
Yeah, exactly. Which I wish I would have, thought about that when I was in high school, but no. But yeah, so it was very interesting, like I said, but I think it made me who I am today, and I don't regret any of it. You know what I mean? And I think it made me appreciate life more, hearing these stories and hearing them talk about life and what they've gone through. And really just to be more compassionate, I think, is what it helped me as well. So
I get that. Yeah. Do you have any specific fun memories of when you're a child?
Like in the care home?
Just in general, when you're a child. Like, I know you said you'd go on vacations and go back to Hawaii for a month. And
yeah, that was fun. That was always fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah,
probably.
That was always fun. As I got older, I realized, like, what the situation was, how we were living with old folks. And sometimes I do wish we weren't in, like, a home with the old people. Just, because it's a business, you know what I mean? Like, you hear them waking up early in the morning. So I was never able to, like, really sleep in on the weekends and stuff like that. Having friends over sometimes, that was a little awkward sometimes. But fond memories. Just going back to Hawaii was a nice kind of just like a month where I could get away from things and actually be a kid, sleep in for the summers, hang out with all my cousins. We'd go to the beach almost every day. It was almost a routine. We'd wake up, get breakfast, go to the beach all day, and then come home for a barbecue.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And then in Filipino culture, I don't know if probably other cultures do it, but what we like to do is my parents when we were in Hawaii, and this is how it was too growing up sometimes, they would, instead of sleeping in our beds, we'd go in the living room and then we'd just put blankets down and pillows and we would all sleep
I love that.
in the living room. And yeah, we did that quite often, probably all the way up until I hit high school. But it was very, very often that we would do that. And every time I go back to Hawaii, we'd do the same.
You do the same thing?
Yeah. And we watch scary movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your mom, is she a good cook?
My mom is a good cook.
Yeah.
Great cook. Filipino food cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My favorite dish is her fried rice. It's just Spam, rice, eggs, and some garlic,
I
soy
love
sauce.
the Spam with the little sandwich with Spam and rice.
Spam musubi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love that. Yeah.
Yeah, then that was another thing too that I didn't realize as a kid, but now I appreciate when I grew up, is my mom would always talk about how other parents wouldn't be able to take their kids to school and pick them up. But with my mom's business, she had that freedom to do that. There was never a moment where I had to take the bus or we ever had a babysitter or anything like that because of the business. You know, we always had either one of my parents babysitting us and either one of them taking us to and from school.
That's a huge plus.
Yeah. And, you know, that's, again, like I said, that was one thing when I was growing up that I didn't really appreciate. But now at the age I'm at in my life where I want to have kids with my fiance, I look at that now as really probably one of the most
important
things that you could do for
them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they never missed a game for me or my sister. I played baseball. My sister played soccer and volleyball. And even when my sister, she was a collegiate athlete. So even in college, we were able to travel to South Dakota to go see her games and stuff like that. And that was one thing where at the time I just didn't understand. I didn't understand why my mom would talk about that so much. But now that I'm older, that's something I appreciate so much and that she did. And it helped us just have that relationship.
And you know, your mother's name is Emily, and I have a really good friend. She works with us for like 25 years named Emily, and she's a really good Filipino cook too. So we have that in common.
Filipinos, they know how to cook.
They know how to cook.
I think they start from a very young age because my mom, she grew up in a farm. Like her family had like a little cul-de-sac and like with 5 houses and they all had farms. So she would tell me her earliest memories would just be her in the farm picking, you know, vegetables and stuff like that, and then them just cooking all day.
And everybody working together on the cul-de-sac, eating together?
Exactly.
That's really nice.
Taking care of the chickens, the pigs, the goats, all that stuff, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, and I look at that now and I'm just like, that's literally what life is. Like we live in LA. We're so closed off to, I mean, number one, we don't have land to do that. And number two, I just don't think people have time to do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good thing to do. I know there's some community projects in certain areas where you have to they like to have a community farm and stuff. And I think that's so good for the kids and for the family just to, you know, I have a little garden in my backyard. When I pick my tomatoes, they just taste better.
Absolutely.
And it's just nice to have there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. No pesticides, nothing like that.
Right.
Just really, really organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really special memory. And then as we get older, we appreciate our parents. We don't understand it at the time. And we might think differently about it. And then we grow up and it's like, wow, they did that. That's so great that they actually stayed home and were there for us and sacrificed for us. Because if your mom would have stayed a nurse, she would have had to work really long hours. She probably couldn't have picked you up and dropped you off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember times like right before we moved to Vegas, there were times when we'd have to, like, I wouldn't see my parents when I woke up. You know what I mean? My dad would get to work early. My mom would be in the hospital early. And then my grandpa, he would take me and my sister to school. And then I wouldn't even see my dad until like 6 or 7 in the evening,
right.
You know, after work. So again, looking back on it now, I just didn't understand it, but I'm so grateful that they just kind of stuck with it and then did everything that they did.
They made the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of the American dream in a way to come to California. I think back then, or Vegas area, back then it was easier. I think it's a little tougher for the American dream now.
Yeah, from what I know, it's a little harder for people to get visas now to even come work here.
Right.
You know, But that's another conversation.
Yes.
But yeah, they did the American dream. That was I don't know if that was specifically my mom's dream to do that, but I know, like I said, the GDP in Philippines is not great at all. Like the overseas Filipino worker stuff is something that a lot of people do. Like that's something that they'll finish college for and then go do the overseas Filipino workers. I know. I mean, like they have people who go to college to become doctors and nurse practitioners who end up, and they can't make any money doing that in the Philippines. So they end up doing overseas Filipino worker programs, and then they make more money being a nurse, or I'm sorry, not a nurse, like
a call center or something.
Yeah, or like a caretaker at someone's home. You know what I mean? Like their maid and stuff like that.
Oh,
so it's interesting how that is, where doctors will leave the Philippines because they're not making enough money, and then they make more money
coming here and being a
maid,
caretaker or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
I just thought when I was on a sales call, I was actually in, I think it was Arizona, and I was lost. I couldn't get back to the Ditech or whatever loan company it was, and I called and I said, I'm lost. How do I get there? And they were in the Philippines in a call center, and they said, well, we're not sure because we're from the Philippines. So I know they have call centers, and they do a lot of work like that.
Yeah, it seems like they've been outsourcing call centers more in the Philippines than they were, I believe it was India before.
India, yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of the companies now, like I remember when I got my new iPhone a couple years ago, they like the T-Mobile, the store didn't even help get it set up. They were just like, just call this number and they'll help you. And it was a Filipino woman helping me.
And did she help you? Was it helpful? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that my dad was saying this, but after World War II, English became part of their education system. Like everyone knows how to speak and write and read English. And a lot of them are really good at it. You know, a lot of them are really good at it. So yeah.
That's interesting. Everywhere I travel a lot, and everywhere I go, they speak English. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do there's some of them are speaking 3 or 4 different languages.
Exactly.
I'm very impressed by that.
Me too.
Yeah.
My fiance is French, and I've been trying to learn French for 9 years, and I just can't do it.
It's tough.
It's really hard. Very hard. The first time she taught me French when we first met, she said everything came out and I sounded Chinese.
Oh.
Because it's a different tongue. You know what I mean?
It is.
Speaking French and coming from a Filipino background, it's just a very different thing.
Well, the French, even when they're mad, they sound nice. And English too. It's like you don't even sound mad because your language is so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Very romantic language. Yeah. Very romantic.
Yep. So, okay, so you came out here, and then what did you do? Did you go to school after you moved
to LA?
out? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to film school. Was at film school for about 1.5 years, and then I got kind of tired of school. So I just went on the Directors Guild of America, DGA website, and on it, they have in their members directory, they have all of the ADs, directors, and producers in the union, both alive and dead. So I kind of had to sift through the ones that were still alive and then cold email them. And I got about 350 emails out until I got my first job. And after that job, it kind of carried me for like 5-6 years working in the industry and meeting creatives in Hollywood and stuff like that. What
were you doing in the industry?
I was a PA. I started off as a PA, basically a production assistant. Basically, it's like you're helping with just the production of the day-to-day, right? Like the logistics of everything. Like you're helping departments know where to set up, where we're shooting, what's going to be on camera, what's not on camera. You're helping actors make sure they get into their trailer, making sure they get breakfast, making sure that they go through hair, makeup, wardrobe, helping them go to set. And I did that for about 4 years and started slowly moving up. I did AD work. I did producing work, production coordinating work.
Was that all in Hollywood, or were you traveling to different locations and on the sets and different sets?
It was all in Hollywood.
All Hollywood?
Yeah, I didn't like the thought of traveling for work. There was one time though where I would have been able to travel to like New Mexico to work on a Martin Scorsese film, and he's my favorite director, and I thought that would have been awesome. But just kind of like the logistics of it, like they wouldn't pay for a motel, so I'd have to sleep in like an RV.
Oh,
yeah. And at the time, I was just like, this is kind of like the tail end of my PA career, and I was just like, nah, I'll just stay in LA.
I
got to meet and work with great people.
Good.
You know, I got to work with Kathy Bates once, and she was awesome.
She's awesome.
She's one of the nicest people I've met in the industry.
You'd never know it if you saw one of her first movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but she was awesome. She remembers everyone, you know, by first name, very respectful, very patient.
Did you work with her on her, I think it's a TV show that she had, the latest one?
The first time I worked with her was American Horror Story.
Oh.
I saw her on set there. And then about 6 months after that, I got a gig on an independent movie. And if you know anything about filmmaking, like when you work on the studio stuff, you're catered to. You have like 3 lunches, a breakfast, dinner, a whole crafty air-conditioned, but on independent sets, you don't have any of that.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Exactly. You know, and she had a trailer, which you'd be lucky to get a trailer on independent sets. Usually, most of the time, you're in other people's homes. You know, the production will rent out their homes and then use that as kind of like a base camp where the AD's office is in there. You got kind of like hair and makeup that go through there, and then your actors will kind of just chill in that house. But no, like I said, on that independent set, she was awesome. Yeah.
I like her. I think she's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she's
especially
great.
in Titanic.
Oh, yeah,
I liked
that's
her
right.
in Titanic a lot. Misery was a little hard to watch, but anyway, she's pretty cool. Okay, so you went from there, and then did anything shift? Did you decide to do something different, or?
Yeah, so 2020 happened.
2020.
Yeah.
Yes. And changed everyone's life.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, so 2020 happened, and then I was at obviously all production stopped in the beginning of 2020, but it started picking up in the fall, and I started getting jobs again, and I was on the set Blackish, a huge show on CBS.
I like that show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
And I worked on there for about a month, and then at the end of October, they were telling people that in the following month that if you didn't get vaccinated, you wouldn't be able to come back on set, basically. And that was pretty much, I'd say 90 to 95% of productions in LA.
Yes.
And I didn't get vaccinated. So there was a really rough patch from 2020 to about 2023. So almost 3 years. About 3 years actually.
Yeah.
Where I didn't have a full-time job. I was kind of like, you know, they call it day playing, where you just go into a music video that's like maybe 3 days and you work 3 days. I did that, ended up, you know, it was rough too. I was still writing and kind of doing my own shorts and editing and stuff like that. But because of all that stuff that happened, I went into like $20,000 in credit card debt.
Oh, God.
Yeah. My girlfriend, who's now my fiance, was basically taking care of me, hoping for the dream to, you know, of being a director kind of like happened. And I got close some moments where I had scripts to go to production companies where I would do rewrites for them and they liked the idea. And then because of a movie that they did blew up, they weren't looking for no-name directors.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the writing strike happened in 2023.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I remember I was like, well, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to kind of network. And I remember people were striking at Paramount, at the lot at Paramount, and I was standing across the street, and I was just kind of, you know, just observing, and I was going to go there to network. I was going to go there to meet other writers. Hopefully I can get a writer's PA job, something. And I kind of looked at it, and I was like, this isn't for me anymore. It really wasn't for me.
Was there something particular you noticed, or was it just like it just kind of came into your head? Like,
yeah, it was from the gut and the heart. More so, you know what I mean? Like I'd tried for almost 10 years, it was like 8 years at the time. I tried 8 years to kind of just go into the industry, meet people, do everything. And because of how the industry changed with the stories they were telling, I just didn't check all the boxes what they were looking for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Basically, it's a joke of mine. I wasn't diverse enough, basically.
You weren't you look pretty diverse.
You know? And so it was just that moment where, and back then I kind of had like, I was struggling with kind of like, you know, alcohol and marijuana. I was kind of struggling with both of them. And I remember leaving the Paramount set and I just went home and just got plastered. And about a week or two after that, I was just like, well, I just got to try something new.
Right.
And I decided to do stand-up comedy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And which is something I always wanted to do. Like I remember when I first moved here, like my first 2 weeks of school, I would go to an open mic and I'd just scare myself and I wouldn't go do it. And I, like in high school, I was like a class clown. So like I always kind of had like that funny bone in me.
Did they call your name and then you just didn't show up in front of the mic?
Well,
like
I signed my name. I was like third. I was like the third one. And then I remember seeing the first person go, and he wasn't doing bad, but he wasn't doing good. But I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, no, I can't do this. So I just left. But I got the courage to do it on like my 34th birthday, June 1st of 2023. And I thought I bombed. I had this whole joke written for 3 minutes. They gave me 3 minutes on stage. I was bombing the first minute and a half. And then after the minute and a half, I kind of threw out the joke and started self-deprecating myself, saying, this is embarrassment. It's my birthday. I invited my friends and my family here. This is embarrassing.
So you got really relatable.
Yeah,
like,
I got relatable and just
saying.
really vulnerable at the time. You know what I mean? Because I was like, well, what do I have to lose? Like, this is just something I'll never do again. And as soon as I stepped off stage, my fiance, one of my good friends, and then a buddy of mine from high school who's been doing comedy for 10 years, they all came up to me and was like, bro, you have to keep doing this. Like, I don't know if that was planned. I don't know, but you just got to keep doing this. And so that was in Vegas because I just went out there to do an open mic out there. So I came back and started just hitting the open mics hard. And I would go like anywhere from 4 to 7 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I was still unemployed at the time. And then because it was getting to that point where I was getting really bad money-wise, I just was like, well, I'm not going to try to look for a job. I'm going to try to start my own podcast. And I started my own podcast where I would get all these open mic comedians to come on to my podcast.
It's a great idea.
And and then have them teach me about comedy. And in return, I would make reels for them. So for each podcast, that podcast ran anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. I would make 6 to 7 reels and just post that every day. And because of that, my face got kind of around in the local scene of LA. I had bigger comedians even see my stuff because they would follow some of the door guys that I had on my podcast at the Comedy Store. And because of that, I was able to get this job. One of the owners had hit me up saying that, hey, I saw your podcast. Do you produce podcasts as well? I was like, yeah, I do everything. And then he was like, well, come check it out. And he was actually building the studio out. When I came down here.
When was that? Was that in 23?
That was October 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it was hard at first because it's like I still wanted to hit the mics, but I know I needed to get myself out of debt. So there was a point where a month into this job, I was just like, well, I'm either going to stay broke in my late 30s and go into my 40s, or I can put kind of like the stand-up aside and really focus on trying to get myself out of debt. And
so you didn't make money with the stand-up?
No, you don't make any money.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't make any money up until probably you're either a door guy or you're traveling with someone. But even then, like I've heard stories where, you go out with someone and you feature for them or you open for them and you're only doing like maybe 5-10 minutes on stage, but they're giving you maybe $150 for a weekend to do like 3 shows.
So when you say door guy, what does that mean?
At the Comedy Store, like when you go in and like check in, like the door guys are like the guys who are like look at your ticket and then seat you. You know what I mean? Those are all comedians as well. That's what I don't think a lot of people know. Those guys will.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll seat you and then they'll go up and do like 5-10 minutes because you're going to see, depending on what show you see, you can either see 3 to 5 comics at once, or you're going to see like 10 to 12, depending on what show you see.
Yeah, my daughter went to that, and she said it's so fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. Comedy's great, you know what I mean? And I think hopefully when I move to Vegas, I'll have more time and more freedom to do that more. Just because out here, it's just obviously, like I said, with working at the studio, having clients on the side, there's really no time for me to hit mics. And not only that, I live downtown, so in my vicinity, there's not as many mics as it would be if I were live like right here. Like right here, there's like a 2-3 mile radius, you can hit 10 different mics. But downtown, there's only like really one mic once a week. So yeah, so.
Well, I think you should keep that up when you go to Vegas, and you'll have a whole different dialogue probably when you're living there, because things will be different with what you're going to do. Yeah,
well, how I kind of known here in the comedy scene was kind of like the stuff I was talking about. Like not a lot of people in terms of LA, the comedy, no one would really talk about, right-leaning comedy, conservative comedy, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I separated myself from that. I remember a buddy of mine who's actually more of a liberal than anything. He's a great comic. He's traveling the road now, but he literally was just like, bro, you got to like say this stuff on stage because it's like everyone in LA is talking about the same exact thing. If you were to do that on stage and because you're not white, you know, you could get away with those things. Yeah.
Right.
So I started doing that. And that's when kind of like my comedy, I felt kind of took a leap. Yeah.
Well, from what I heard, you had a script, and then when you became yourself, you became successful.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's the key. You're just naturally funny. And when you talk and when you're just yourself, you'll make it big.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I had taken, I think everyone should take to their life. You know what I mean? It's not so much like, oh, what shouldn't I say? I think you just have to be authentic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because there's a certain freedom off that. You have the weight off your shoulders. You can be who you want to be. And at the same time, it's just, you don't have to be sorry for it in a way. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're saying some messed up things. Then,
right. We don't want to say anything insulting or
But if it's the way you feel about things and you're not, you know, harming anybody, then I think, you know, everyone should do it. And that's kind of why I'm getting back into healthcare, is because, you know, talking about the PA stuff, even working here, I'm able to help people start their podcasts. I've helped people on set get their food, get their coffee. I've helped everybody. And that was kind of like the thing that I saw about within myself. I enjoy helping people. So
you helped me.
Yeah. And
you're still helping me.
And so that's something that I'm going to take going back into healthcare, is just really helping those kind of people. You know what I mean? Because elderly, I feel like the elderly people, that's something that a lot of people try to brush off and not listen to. And, you know, they have a voice, they have a story, and they've lived life. You know what I mean? And they have experiences that we don't. Even though life is different now with technology and stuff like that, the feelings of people and what they can teach you that's not different.
You can't look that up. You have to listen to them and see them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So what made you want to go back into healthcare? What was the pivotal moment that you decided to leave Hollywood and then go back to your roots?
Honestly, it was the moment I had, because I was talking about it a little bit last year in the summer with my mom, and, you know, not that she wasn't taking me serious, but I think it was just I wasn't taking myself serious with the whole thing. And then I just remember my fiance, after I proposed to her, her parents live in the south of France, very beautiful home, right next to the beach. And she was just, we were talking about the future.
What part of France?
It's called Antibes.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, they live in the cap of the Antibes, so basically a little peninsula.
Okay.
About a half hour away from Cannes.
Beautiful over there. Yeah.
And like an hour away from Nice.
Okay.
And I remember her saying that, you know, once we have kids, she'd love to be able to bring them here to see her parents, to France to see her parents. And she was talking about the homes around their area, and which all the homes there are
beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah. You know what I mean? And a lot of money. And that was when that was the switch for me. It was like, at the moment we were still planning on moving to Vegas, but I was going to like open up a podcast studio for myself. And I'm not saying podcasts don't make any money, but it's the freedom part. You know what I mean? Like that was something that I felt like I needed. And like I said, just helping the right kind of people. You know, I meet a lot of people here, and a lot of people are great, but most of the time they're really focused on trying to get famous. Right. You know what I mean? And it's a skill that I've developed, but at the same time, it's like a skill that I'm not grateful for, and I don't feel fulfilled for doing it, as opposed to helping people and really scaling my mom's business. You know, like I want her name to live on for a long time after she's gone. And it would just kind of be a shame if the story ends with the couple group homes that she has. You know what I mean? I want to scale it to where it's it's a multi-city business. You know what I mean? I want to open one in Florida. I want to open a couple in Texas. I want to go pretty much all over. And the goal would be 1,000 beds as opposed to the 10 beds that she has now. You know, so when you're saying 10 beds, that's per unit? Or 10 beds, just like, so at one facility she has 2 beds, the other one she has 8 beds. Okay. You know what I mean? And then I opened mine and we have 5 beds.
5 beds.
So all it is depends on what kind of facility you want to open, and then how the square footage of the facility. Like, because every resident has to have a certain amount of square footage. But yeah, that's something to where I started really taking myself serious. And like I said to our prior conversation, that's when I stopped, I got sober basically and started taking myself more serious. And and that was the beginning of the year. That was January 2025. And now in August, I find myself even more and more like motivated to actually make that happen.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And did you get an opportunity? You did get an opportunity, right?
I did. Yeah. I opened up my first facility in May. When we acquired that house in like April. So it took a couple months to kind of just do all the business stuff, all the licensing and whatever. And that opened up in May, and we're full there now. And that's just step one. You know what I mean?
That's just step one.
Yeah. I'm looking, hopefully I'll be able to have the means to purchase a home in the beginning of 2026, a bigger home, hopefully up to 10 beds, and then kind of repeat that 3 to 5 more times and then try to venture out into another city.
I think it's a great goal because it's so needed. Because, so many people end up alone and they're still able to function, but you said, I think you give them housekeeping and meals.
Yeah.
And then also community, right? So
Absolutely.
You have like a community room so they're not lonely and they're together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you find is it a mix of men and women, or is it?
It's a mix of men and women.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the shared rooms, men and women can't be put together.
Right.
Like if they're sharing a room, there has to be 2 men or 2 women.
Does your mother have any like sayings or quotes or anything that you remember? Because I remember I asked you if you had one and you weren't sure if you had one, but I'm sure your mother does. Either like a Bible verse or a saying or a song that she used to sing or when she was cooking or
Her song is Celine Dion, the Titanic song.
Oh,
My
that's a
Heart
beautiful
Will Go
song.
On. If you know Filipinos, we love our karaoke.
You love what?
Our karaoke.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay.
That's my mom. I know that, like, even when I was a child, my mom, every time there's a karaoke around, she picks that specific song to sing.
Does she do well? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember as a kid when American Idol first came out, I was like, Mom, you should do American Idol.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be so great.
Yeah. But no, what she instilled in me and my sisters, really, it wasn't ever sayings. It was just kind of her actions. You know what I mean? She's a very hard worker. You know what I mean? And now that I'm getting to the business, I see everything that she's had to do. And I told her this maybe a couple of days ago. I was just like, I don't know how you're doing this on your own. Right. You know what I mean? Like that. It's kind of crazy how. Because she's such a hands-on person to where, like, her being an entrepreneur, she doesn't see herself as an entrepreneur. She really sees herself as a caretaker. You know, the entrepreneurship, that's something just as a bonus. But she's really hands-on the day-to-day operations. She's there every day helping the caretakers clean the patients, give them showers, do all that stuff.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just a testament to her hard work, her work ethic. And, hopefully with my insight, working here, this is a small business. So, and I'm a manager here. So I get to kind of like learn the culture and then like help other producers out and stuff like that. Hopefully taking that and then hopefully it translates into the healthcare, which I think it will, you know what I mean? In terms of that aspect of the business.
Be fun to do a podcast over there with all these really amazing people that have their story and history.
Yeah, I am.
Are you?
Yeah, I actually started. I've shot 4 episodes. I'm going to start releasing it once I move, just because I want to keep it more consistent, and just because I'm not there, I can't shoot. But it's called Just Like Yesterday. I'm speaking. Yeah, I'm talking to the old folks and having them share their story, and then giving them a platform where their stories will be able to live on for.
I love
forever.
That's a really wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, and these old folks, they come from all over the world. You know what I mean? My first episode was with a guy who opened up for Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, and then went into healthcare. So he kind of had like a similar story to me. And when I shot with him, I remember him saying something very important to me where it kind of gave me even more confidence into moving into healthcare. And it was, entertainers talk about the standing ovation. They want that standing ovation at the end of their shows. And he said that he wanted that standing ovation, but in healthcare, in medicine. And it was like God talking to me through him, you know what I mean? And I took that and I was just like, well, that's kind of, I want the same thing. I want people to remember me for that as opposed to making a movie that, no one will ever see.
Right. Or your own thing. It's about taking care of somebody and helping someone.
Absolutely.
That's, I think God really cheers that on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The more I read the Bible and the more I learn about it, that's one of the things. It's really just taking yourself out and then just really helping other people, you know what I mean? And helping the sick.
Especially, the elderly and the orphans. It's what,
Yes.
And the sick. It's, I think I told you before when I first met you that my sister passed away. And when I went to hospice, the hospice people were angels. People came and volunteered and they didn't even get paid. The nurses did, but the volunteers came and I was like embarrassed of myself that I was worried about all this stuff over here when this is the most important thing, valuing somebody's life, taking care of somebody, showing them that their life is worth something. And that's a time when it's very, very tough for family to help because they don't know what to do.
100%. And that's kind of like when I go into healthcare, that's something I do want to do. I want to implement technology into that to where I'm making it as easy process for the family to understand what kind of care we give and kind of steps, to, I guess, acceptance of the situation.
Right.
So that's another thing that I'm going to try to implement into the business that my mom hasn't really done, but just really whether it's a blog, YouTube video, or like me talking to the camera, whatever it may be, but just giving them something to where it's almost like not a welcome packet, but just like here, like, I understand what you're going through right now. This is an option that you have, but here's like a link that I can give you as a playlist to where you can go through those different videos and really get comfortable with this process, whether it's like what you're looking for in a home, what you're looking for care and all that stuff. I really want to implement that into the business. Yeah,
you're not going to be just a cookie cutter because a lot of people get really afraid to put their family in a assisted living or a nursing home because of what we've heard about them sometimes.
Exactly.
But if yours is going to be more like a home.
Yes,
where they're welcome and valued. And they get to do podcasts and, creative things, karaoke with your mom or something.
Exactly, yeah, you know what I mean? And because, with these larger facilities, you pay double as what you would pay for a residential facility. And not only that, you don't have the kind of care there. Right. You know what I mean? Sure, there are like doctors on staff, nurse practitioners on staff, nurses on staff. But at the end of the day, that's their job. It's one doctor who's taking care of 100 people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like as opposed to a residential facility where, sure, we may not have nurses or doctors on staff. However, we'd be able to set you up with like a home health service or like a hospice service to where we have those people coming in every day, checking on your parent or your loved one. You know what I mean? So that's something that people don't really understand. Yeah,
so it's different. They're allowed to come in, and then it's more like a home. It's not like you just have some room and then you get wheeled over to this big area to eat or,
Exactly, yeah.
So it feels safer and more like home.
Yeah, 100%.
And welcoming.
Yeah, and quieter too, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like because of how the licensing and the laws are set up, you can't really put people with Alzheimer's with normal people, where in those facilities, it's a mix of both, you know what I mean? And that can cause some frustration with some of the residents.
So you mix that, you don't have the mix? You don't have like people with Alzheimer's with people that are just aging or?
No, usually it's, and this is because of the licensing, and specifically in Nevada, you have a license for Alzheimer care, and then you would have a license for more for behavioral, right? Like some of them can have dementia, but they're not at the Alzheimer's state.
Okay.
So there are residential homes for Alzheimer's, and the ones that I've gone to are pretty quiet. You know what I mean? It's not like, because I feel like whether it's from media or just horror stories that you read on the internet, you think of, I got to put my parent in a home, that it's just like a hospital almost, right? Like that's what you feel like. And that's what larger facilities, for me, that's what larger facilities feel like.
Right.
With these residential homes, they're a lot more quieter, a lot more personable. We keep their dignity.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, the staffing is, in my opinion, a lot better because you have individual, like I said, you don't have 5 staff members who are who are trying to take care of over 100 people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's impossible. Like it would take you the whole day to just kind of sit down and just listen to what was wrong with them. Whereas in this, we have a caretaker. However, we have people coming in and, you know, basically diagnosing them with things. If they need transportation to their doctor's appointments, we're able to provide those things.
Right.
So in my
it's
opinion,
not too many in one home, so you can really take good care of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, like more personable too, you know what I mean? Like we're able to really listen to them and spend the time with them and then really try to figure it out what it is that they need, who it is that they need. So
I think it's wonderful that you're carrying on your mother's legacy, what you grew up with, and you'll know how to do it. You'll know how to really help people. So I think I commend you for it. I think it's going to be really wonderful. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. And who knows, maybe I'll end up there one day.
You're still pretty strong,
when I'm
Patti.
old.
You're still pretty strong.
One day. So I don't know if I asked you this, but what would you say to your younger self with what you know now, with anything that you've gone through?
I would say listen to my parents.
Okay.
Listen to mom and dad. You know what I mean?
I'm sure your mom will love that. What's your dad's name?
Clyde.
So Mom, Emily and Clyde will appreciate that.
Definitely listen to my parents more because they were from the get-go. My mom was always saying, "You got to get in this business. You got to get in this business." You know what I mean? And I think because I grew up when I was 7 all the way up until high school, a little bit of college, in those facilities, I felt like I just needed something different.
Right.
And that's why I moved to LA. That's why I went into the creative of everything. And now that I've done all that, maybe my life would have looked different if I were to go in the business right away. But I'm so grateful that they gave me the opportunity to kind of come out here and kind of fall on my face. You know what I mean? I feel like the podcast I started with the comedy was called The Successful Failure because I had failed so much in my life that I was actually really successful at it. You know what I mean?
That's cute.
Yeah. But that's, I feel like, I also too think with immigrant parents, it's very hard for them to kind of grasp that ideology. They don't want to see their kids fail. They just want to see them succeed. So they'll coddle them almost to where they don't have opportunities to fail. But I think that's just a part of life. And I'm so grateful that I was able to come out here, go and tell that story where I was $20,000 in debt, really just in the darkness of all of this, you know what I mean? And then kind of finding myself who I really was, and then now going back with a different mindset and with a fiance that I love, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've never...
You grew up.
Yeah.
You learned, you got the life experience, and now you can even do a better job.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because back then I was more so of a caretaker, you know what I mean? I didn't really understand the business side. But now that, like I said, I've kind of, and for some weird reason, I feel like even working in Hollywood as a PA, that helped me kind of able to lead people in some way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's just very interesting. It's a very weird story that my life where I basically grew up in a care home, came out here to Hollywood, did stand up, do all this things, and then going back. I think about it all the time, and I think it's very strange, but I'm so grateful for everything.
Well, I was thinking a PA is a personal assistant?
Yeah, a production assistant, basically.
Production assistant.
Basically the same thing, yeah.
And then in the medical field, you're a PA, because I have my friend's daughter's a PA, so I was kind of like, PA, okay. They kind of go hand in hand, because you were in the medical, and then you became an assistant, and now you're back in the medical. But
Yeah.
So, you gave me a quote of your mother or your father. Do you have?
No, not a quote.
Not a quote. You just said she liked to listen to Titanic.
Yeah,
hard
hard
work
work
and
really
just the associate. You saw what you did, and she was a doer, so you learned from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is your grandma, do you have a grandma in the Philippines, or is she in Hawaii?
So both my grandparents, my mom's mom and my dad's mom and my mom's mom, they both live with them at the house.
Oh.
Yeah. One of them is kind of going through an Alzheimer's thing right now, which is, I shot a podcast with both of them. I shot it with my dad's mom first. She was very much there, but my mom's mom, it just happened out of nowhere too. It was like a year ago where they don't really know what happened. They don't know if it was a stroke or anything, but it was just like, it was on her birthday, and we had gotten lunch. I remember we all got lunch, and she was fine. She was just acting just like herself. She's a little hard of hearing, which is normal.
Right.
And
How old is she?
She is 80, in her late 80s.
Late 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that lunch, apparently she had gotten dressed up, but she like did all the reverse. Like she wore her underwear over her normal clothes.
Oh.
And my mom thought
Just
that
out
was
of the
weird.
blue.
Just out of the blue. And ever since then, she's just been not there.
Oh.
Yeah. So I tried shooting a podcast with her. I tried kind of making light of it. She can only speak Tagalog now, which is her language. She doesn't really speak English anymore.
Oh, so
which she did
just
before.
went back to her native language.
Yeah. And she'll see me and she'll remember my face, but she doesn't know my name.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was a little hard at first. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when I shot that podcast, she was speaking in her native tongue. And because I do comedy, I was trying to make jokes of it. Like I was trying to translate what she was saying.
So do you speak?
No, I don't.
Tagalog? Okay.
But I was just trying
you
to make
understood some of the words?
Some of it, yeah. And I was trying to piece it together. And I don't know if I'll release that podcast episode, but like in the middle of it, I kind of like came to a realization that, you know, that this is what life is. This is what life is going to be. So I kind of was just talking, you know, just talking about it. But
very authentically. That
yeah,
would be
authentically.
a difficult thing to be authentic about, but that's life.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so it's just weird. It's just weird how kind of like, you know, one moment she's fine and then the next
I know.
she was just
I wonder if
completely
something
different.
triggered her birthday, something.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure at all.
Yeah.
But I'm able, you know, I was able to, for my dad's mom, I was able to, you know, get her story and then talk about her life. She's 94.
94.
You know what I mean? And that's something that,
It's priceless.
yeah, that hopefully my kids will be able to see that, you know what I mean? And kind of take that in.
Do either of I love quotes. Do either of your grandmothers have quotes that you know of, or like certain things they used to say? Like my mom always says, "This too shall pass," and different things like that.
So yeah, so my dad would always, actually, if we're talking about quotes, my dad would always say, "Do unto others." What's that quote?
As you'd like them to do unto you.
Yeah, exactly. So he would always say that. So yeah, if we're talking about quotes, then that's one quote that I do remember. Again, my mom, not really. It was just more so she tried to instill so much just like knowledge into us.
Just through example.
Yeah,
I think your
exactly.
mom showed you. I'd love to meet her. We'll have to get a picture of your mom and dad, put it on the podcast.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, and your fiance.
Okay, I can do that.
So what would you like to leave us with today with everything we've talked about and what you're planning on doing, and how did you want to leave that?
I would say open your heart as much as you can to God. I will say that. I know that it's hard in these times to really just focus on yourself, right? We're taught, in my generation anyway, we're taught to like, oh, do what makes you happy. Do all these things that make you happy. And sure, you do them. But I think while we explore what we want, we tend to forget the teachings of the Lord and the Bible. You know, me and my fiance, we do coffee in the morning. We have coffee time where we talk, and that turned into kind of Bible study time where we would sit down and read the Bible. And with all these self-help books, with all these self-help podcasts, I feel like you can find everything that you're looking for in the Bible. I have anyway, you know what I mean? And
I think
I'm not,
too.
yeah, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still mess up. But at the end of the day, I've noticed a huge change in my mindset and the way I act because of the Bible and because of what the Bible teaches. So if I were to leave anything for today, it would just be really keep an open mind and an open heart and at least try to understand what it is that God is trying to say, in a sense. I don't know if that's good, but
Yeah. And do you pray too? I mean,
I have, me and my fiance will pray at night together.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
With our work schedules, it gets kind of hard because, you know, sometimes she'll get home late, I'll get home late, and then we'll kind of forget.
Yeah.
But kind of like last night, she was already asleep, and I just kind of just prayed to myself, prayed to God, you know what I mean? And you know, it's just weird how once you open yourself up, things seem to just kind of fall into place. That's one thing too, where it's always a surprise as to how once you try to let go and start trying to control your own life, that God's plan is working out. And it seems like He's giving things to you as opposed to you trying to take things for yourself.
Right.
So
let go and let God, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was the thing where, again, like I said, in my early 20s, I thought it was just a goofy saying.
I know. But you got a little life experience.
Yeah. And now it's just for everything. It's like, even if something bad happens, I'm like, okay, well, this is probably just part of my path. And sure enough, things just kind of fall into place.
Yeah, I was talking to Nancy on the way over here, and it's like, I always pray that people will see God the way they can understand them. Because like what would work for me, you might not even see, So I think God works in us in a way that we understand.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes it takes a while.
That's very true.
So I'm just super excited for you and your future. And I hope that I don't have to see you as a client. No, I'm just kidding. But I know you're going to do great.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. And I hope I get to see you get married and raise your kids. And I always do want to quote what my mother said to me, that you really are loved just as you are, more than you know. And thank you so much for being on this. Oh, and I want you to pick one. I know you've picked one in the past, but this is for today.
Okay.
Let's see what we pick.
Courage.
Courage.
You got courage.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. So thank you so much. And anything else?
No, I think that's it. Thank
Nancy?
you, Patti.
Thank you. This was really cool. I really loved it.